I'm Lee, and I'm going to tell you a story about my childhood and my background. I was born in Vermont, and both my parents were hearing. I was the second child born. I had an older brother, and then me, and then two younger sisters. They were both hearing. I was born in Vermont, and my father worked for a shipyard. He worked on a ship. And when I was 2, my father noticed that I was deaf. There wasn't really communication going on, so then we decided to go to the doctor. And then the doctor told my mom and dad that there was a wonderful school for the deaf. So, my parents had relatives who lived there in North Carolina. So my mom and dad decided to send me there, and we went there for work. And in North Carolina, we lived on a farm, and we had cows and chickens, a coop. So I went there to go to the North Carolina School for the Deaf. And I was about age 5 when I went to that school. And I grew up in the deaf institution. So I graduated high school, and then I went to Gallaudet College. I finished all that, and then I went to a master's degree in business. The time I went to Gallaudet, my wife was there, and she was from Minnesota. So I met my wife there, and we moved here to Minnesota, got married, and we decided to settle down and have a house in Eden Prairie. So I was an accountant for GE General Electric Company. And I worked as an accountant there in the finance department. So I worked there for a while, and I really enjoyed that. I worked there for 14 years. I started seeing really no ways for me to move up in the company there. I was surrounded by hearing people, and it was hard for me to communicate, so I decided to quit that job. So then my next job was University of Minnesota. And I noticed that they had ASL there. They provided ASL classes there. So I decided to become an ASL teacher at the University of Minnesota. I loved that. I really did. I love ASL. I love the language, and I really enjoyed teaching it. I taught there for 5 years, and I also taught deafblind interpreters. I set up Metro School for the Deaf. I taught there for 5 years. And then I started to notice that my vision was decreasing, and I was teaching. I was getting frustrated with the students because the communication wasn't the best because of my sight loss. So then, after that, I moved to North Carolina to see a sight specialist. So I worked there with them for 12 years, and I really enjoyed North Carolina. It was a wonderful place to live. They had a lot of services there for deafblind, and they didn't have a lot of deaf services there for deafblind, so I moved back to Minnesota. So they have deaf and hard of hearing services here, and I really, really enjoyed that service. And they have a lot of services for deaf and blind here in Minnesota. They have a really strong community, and they have wonderful interpreters. They have SSP services, and I really enjoyed the services. So now I have 3 children. My wife is deaf also. My oldest boy, he's 31. He is also deaf and blind. I have a second son. He's now 30. He is deaf and blind also. And my daughter is 27, and she is deaf. So John, my first son, he's married, and his wife is deaf, and they have 3 children, and they're all hearing. So I'm a grandpa of 3 grandchildren. So my second boy, he works as a mental health specialist, counselor in San Francisco. And then my daughter is also interning here at Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services for the deaf and hard of hearing mental health department here. Okay, let's see. I'll tell a story about my childhood growing up, about myself. That's my life, and that's pretty much all I have today. Oh, I guess, let's see. Oh, it looks like we have a little more time, so we'll keep going. I'll talk about my work. What I do now for Deaf and Blind Hard of Hearing Services. Right now, I work as a deaf-blind specialist. My responsibilities are in charge of the deaf-blind program, and it's deaf-blind consumer directed program. And we get state grants, and it's my responsibility to deal with that money. Specifically, elaborating on the program, we help people of all ages as they grow up. But you have to be deaf-blind. We can offer you money and grants to hire SSPs, supporting service providers. And we can search for someone who they can be deaf or hearing, but they have to be able to sign. And we'll hire them, and they'll go to the store with the deaf-blind client, go into the community, drive them around, and be with them to help them. We have an interviewer, intervener, and they can work with the deaf-blind client as well. So after school, when the kids get off of school, we can teach them, play with them, and let them socialize with other children. Also, that money is for equipment that deaf-blind consumers can use. We have CCRT, which is it's a machine that can zoom in. So if you're reading something, you can make it a larger font, so it's easier to read. And it's on a computer. And you can communicate with friends that way, family, email, searching the internet, those things. So there's all different kinds of equipment. We have different phones, different alarms. We have a bunch of equipment that can satisfy the needs of a deaf-blind consumer. We also have Braille training, so they can learn how to use that. They can use an OM. We also have computer classes. They can go to workshops and learn about deaf-blind. If they have family and children, they can also attend those classes, those workshops. And we can hire drivers that can go wherever that deaf-blind person would like to go. Let's see what else. We have so many different services that we can provide money for all of those. We need to meet them, and they need to be independent. And we can communicate, and that's how we can communicate with friends. And that's all my responsibility at work. So that's the story about my life and my work, and thank you.